Our story kicks off in the scorching expanse of the Red Desert. In this barren land, where life barely clings on, a tiny lizard finds itself hunted by a cackle of hyenas, their eerie laughter echoing through the desolate wastes. But before the little critter could meet its gruesome end, a whirling blade suddenly intervenes. Slicing through the air with deadly precision, a young boy, the axe's owner, charges in, flipping the roles of predator and prey. His steps kick up clouds of crimson dust as he closes the gap with a hunter's fierce determination. With another axe gripped tightly, he lunges forward, a whirlwind of pure ferocity. The clash of primal instincts ends, with the boy slaying the pack's leader, unleashing a bone-chilling, victorious howl. The remaining hyenas scatter, tails tucked in fear, their courage utterly shattered. The little lizard, wide-eyed, marvels at the boy's incredible prowess, its tiny heart racing with awe and newfound admiration. Saved from its doom, it decides to trail after him, much to his utter annoyance. Too small to eat and seemingly useless for hunting, the boy tries to shoo it away, waving his hands and grumbling under his breath. But the lizard persists, completely undeterred. Frustrated, the boy chastises the tiny creature until it suddenly reveals its incredible hidden talent, breathing fire like a living flamethrower, a spark of defiance lighting up the arid air. Their quarrel is abruptly silenced by a deep rumble. From beneath the very stone they chose as a resting spot, it stirs, revealing itself as a massive, slumbering beast. Thus, the unlikely duo flees for their lives, pursued by an enraged, earthen rhinoceros. Its massive form barrels through the terrain. They scramble desperately through the desert, until they reach a cliff with no time to spare. The boy leaps into the unknown, indifferent to the terrifying drop, the wind howling in his ears, thanks to his unnaturally powerful legs. He absorbs the colossal fall with ease, landing with a resounding thud that would have crippled an ordinary person. At the bottom, he encounters a mysterious hooded figure. He is seated calmly beneath a withered tree, an aura of deep mystery surrounding him. Curiosity flickers in the boy's eyes, but the rhino is still hot on his trail, its enraged bellows growing even louder. Gripping his axe, the boy resolves to stand his ground, ready to prove his true lineage. As a descendant of the Black Dragon, the hooded figure rises with patient grace and slowly lowers his hood, revealing striking white hair and piercing blue eyes, commanding an undeniable air of strength. Bro, he's literally Griffith from Berserk, but with straight hair this time. The beast locks eyes with the man, and in one breathless moment, it turns tail, retreating without a fight. Such is the overwhelming power of true aura, an invisible force that needs no weapon at all. The boy is utterly dumbfounded, his grip on the axe slackening in utter disbelief. The enigmatic man smiles, asking if the boy is unharmed, his voice calm and soothing, yet carrying an undeniable edge of authority. Little did the boy know that this chance meeting would utterly alter his destiny and forever reshape the fate of the world. Ananta, the young hunter, leads his savior back to his village, the weight of the encounter still heavy on his mind. In his thoughts, the villagers, naturally curious, gather to learn about the foreigner. There whispers a mix of wonder and caution. Ananta's sister, however, is far more concerned about her brother's disappearance. She scolds him for wandering into mystic territory, again warning of the grave dangers that lurk there. To make matters worse, he's brought home an odd critter and a mysterious stranger to boot, complicating her worries even further. Ananta eagerly introduces the man to his sister, Ashta, his voice brimming with unbridled enthusiasm. Suddenly, Ashta's illness strikes, forcing her into a violent fit of black bile coughing, her strength fading as quickly as it came. A worried Ananta urges her to rest inside, his voice tinged with both guilt and deep concern. The foreigner is then escorted to the elder's home, treated to hearty food and warm hospitality, the villagers showing their immense gratitude to the man who saved their young hunter. The man, introducing himself as Gillo, is welcome to stay as long as he needs. His presence is an enigma, yet sparks intense curiosity. Still, the little lizard remains incredibly wary of him. Its tiny eyes never once leave his form, as if sensing something the others are completely oblivious to. The village head assigns a nunta to be Gillo's guide. During his stay, a duty the young boy accepts with immense pride. When directly asked what brought him to such a remote and unforgiving land, Gillo explains he's a dedicated explorer, researching the intricate cultures and powerful incarnates of different regions. To clarify, he unfurls a weathered map, its edges worn from countless arduous journeys, and shares thrilling tales of his travels, from the great empire of the east, through the icy ridges of the north, to the vast forests of the west. Now, he bravely navigates the treacherous Red Desert, seeking the legendary tale of a special incarnate, the incarnate known as Ajitahaka, a mythical being, indeed, and one of the first 6 incarnates to ever receive divine power. Ajitahaka is heralded as the strongest among them all. Feared and revered, this legendary black dragon has loomed large over history as an awe-inspiring symbol of untamed power. Dubbed the evil incarnate, Ajitahaka, the magnificent black dragon, is the ultimate object of Gillo's quest, a legend simply waiting to be unraveled. Mr. Gillo stayed with Anunta and his sister, and he even whipped up a special medicine made from boiling rare Giardia to boost her compromised immune system and vitality. Just one sip of the powerful soup quickly made Ashta feel significantly better. Today, he intends to journey down the nearby river to investigate something. Anunta, eager to tag along, being Mr. Gillo's official guide, the duo set out for the riverside. Before their departure, Ashta lovingly reminded her little brother to be safe out there and return home in one piece. As the duo left the village, the young boy couldn't help but notice that the grown-ups were shooting poisonous glances at the mysterious foreigner. It didn't take them too long to reach the expansive river of the Red Desert. While trekking and enjoying fish that they'd freshly caught from the river, the boy then asked Mr. Gillo if he'd made any real progress in his research after a week since arriving in the village. Unfortunately, progress was painstakingly slow. All he'd managed to piece together were small fragments of the history of the Black Dragon's descendants. Anunta's ancestors once endured constant assaults from external forces, but thanks to the Black Dragon's timely help, they were able to hold their ground. The Black Dragon's present-day descendants, like Anunta, proudly continue the warrior tradition, worshipping the great Ajitahaka. That's about the full extent of what Mr. Gillo knows as of now, because for some unknown reason, the adult villagers just stubbornly refuse to tell him anything more. It's as if they're deliberately hiding something. Anunta dismissed Gillo's concern, calling it overthinking. Then, changing the subject, Mr. Gillo asked why he was still hunting behind his sister's back. Gillo didn't want to pry too much, but the kid was accumulating more and more injuries from his daring escapades lately. Even though Ashta might catch on very soon, little bro still wants to keep his side hustle a secret. He doesn't want to make her worry, any more than she already does. You see, winter comes quickly in this accursed land. He wants to hunt and stockpile as much food as possible before the harsh cold truly sets in. The siblings grew up without their parents. They both tragically died from a disease, while Anunta was still just a baby. Since then, Ashta has always been fiercely protective of her little brother. Anunta feels a deep guilt that his sister's entire life has revolved around taking care of him, even missing her prime marrying age. So, he wants to prepare a proper dowry for her, so she can finally start her own family. Gillo asked if achieving this would be difficult, and the boy just smiled, answering it wasn't. Everything he does is for the only family he has, after all. Enough of these depressing family talks, though. The boy is curious. Why is Gillo so interested in incarnates? It's actually pretty simple when you get down to it. He's hunting for the legendary treasure of the gods. These mystical treasures are rumored to be the very source of the first 6 incarnates. Tremendous powers. They are relics that completely defy the laws of the world and the limits of human understanding. should anyone manage to seize these 6 relics, each holding the boundless power of deities. They would essentially be reborn and finally glimpse the world beyond the curtain. After hearing about these treasures, Ananta, in a slip of the tongue, asked Gillo if he was after the village's ancient scale. After an entire week of fruitless searching, Mr. Gillo just snagged his very first lead, and it came from the kid realizing he'd totally messed up. Ananta finally caved in, on the strict condition that Gillo never tell anyone, that he'd blab about it back when they were kids. His sister once told him a story that truly stuck in his mind. While it's true that the mighty black dragon did chase away their ancestors' enemies, the beast's terrifying rage never truly subsided. He then went on an uncontrollable rampage until the entirety of the Red Desert was scorched to ash, to finally reign in his immense fury. The black dragon willingly surrendered one of his powerful scales to his loyal followers. With his vital power source removed, the black dragon fell into a deep, unending sleep. His followers then constructed a hidden shrine, somewhere deep within the vast Dragon Valley, where their finest warriors stand eternal guard, to protect the sacred scale from falling into the wrong hands. But before Mr. Gillo could even ask Ananta to help in tracking down the shrine, the kid firmly draws the line. The sanctity of the shrine strictly forbids any foreign influence from ever entering their sacred place. Ananta has no problems guiding Mr. Gillo anywhere else, but the Dragon Valley itself is strictly off limits. The man didn't fight him on that point, but he did ask the kid to accompany him to one more place. By sundown, they had reached a towering cliff where the immense vastness of the Red Desert and its breathtaking beauty could be admired best. Bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, Mr. Gillo began to passionately profess his dream. He longs to discover a world that lies beyond their current one, a realm connecting to the land of gods. And until that dream is realized, he'll push forward with his relentless exploration. Even if it means scouring the entire planet, his journey will truly never end. Even if he has to turn everyone into his enemy. That's what Mr. Gillo inquired. If Ananta had ever connected the dots between his ancestry and the fabled incarnate, Gillo then revealed that there was a strong possibility that Asta's debilitating sickness was directly tied to the Black Dragon's curse. Ajitahaka remains as enigmatic as the rest of the all-powerful incarnates. But what is known is that he serves the evil god, who commands curses and death. So it's not too far-fetched to imagine a creature serving under such the vilest of gods would one day turn against the very people. Gillo continued, asserting that the Black Dragon was merely exploiting Ananta's bloodline to pass on the evil god's devastating curse. The boy's parents tragically died from an unknown illness, and now his sister is hopelessly suffering. Little did Ananta know he was being thoroughly gaslit and manipulated by the man's unparalleled silver tongue. Upon hearing that his parents' deaths and his sister's endless suffering were all caused by the Black Dragon, pushed him to the brink of utter despair. Watching the boy slowly fall for his twisted tail, Gillo grinned like a cunning fisherman, luring his unsuspecting catch. Gillo then pulled out a radiant flower and urged the boy to take it to the sacred treasure guarded by the village. He claimed that, using this flower, the Black Dragon's curse would finally be lifted, freeing his sister from her debilitating sickness. Gillo was practically forcing him to violate the village's most sacred rule, but Gillo quickly clarified that he was merely offering Ananta a crucial choice, to take matters into his own desperate hands. No matter how things played out, the final choice would always be the boy's. But unbeknownst to Ananta, he was slowly being influenced by a true angel in human form. Asta suddenly woke up in the middle of the night, only to find her little brother missing. She frets, wondering intently where her little brat could be at such a late hour. Wherever he was, Big Sis prayed he'd be safe and wouldn't catch a cold. And if you guessed he was in the Dragon Valley Shrine, you'd be absolutely right. The guards posted at the entrance immediately went on high alert as soon as they spotted the white-haired man's figure. As he walked closer, they warned Gillo to stop in his tracks. Barging into the shrine was a serious crime, after all, seeing that the foreigner wasn't listening to them. One of the guards charged forward with his spear. Gillo effortlessly grabbed the spear tip with his bare hands. His shock quickly turned to a numbing pain, as he was knocked out cold by a fierce roundhouse kick to the back of the head, while the other guards could only watch. Gillo finished the job with a brutal punch, while the opponent was still down for the count. With the first obstacle now completely taken care of, Gillo asked Ananta to come out of hiding. The boy was still gripping the radiant flower tightly in his hand. This was his very first time witnessing Mr. Gillo's combat prowess firsthand. Gillo had absolutely no trouble taking out the village's mighty warriors. The duo then walked confidently into the shrine, eager to finish what they had just started. Before the sun rose, even deep inside the shrine's halls, the stronger guards didn't pose any threat at all. It only took a few short minutes for the duo to reach the final room. The radiant flower now shone even brighter, and Gillo began to snicker mischievously. He quickly stopped himself from giggling fully and reassured Ananta, telling him there was no need to be afraid anymore. Everything is going exactly according to plan, after all. In the very center of the room, Gillo unearthed the contents of a small tomb. Inside was the final treasure of the first 6 incarnates. It was sealed by ancient runic markings. The one scale that goes the other way is Aji Dahaka's inverted dragon scale. Gillo then thanked Ananta for guiding and accompanying him. Up until this very moment, the kid nervously asked if everything they'd done could truly help cure his sister. Gillo grabbed his shoulder, calling him a dumbass human, a numbskull so incredibly easy to fool. Ananta's heart sank into his stomach. It was time to make the boy face the consequences of his foolish choice. Kaio then grabbed Ananta's hands, holding the radiant flower, and forced it near the inverted dragon scale. The scale and the runic marking reacted violently against the flower. The reaction's power explosively spiraled out of control until it produced a powerful beam of light, extending all the way up to the heavens. This beam of light was visible all throughout the Red Desert. It could be seen from the village, worrying Ashta after the light. Then came the rumbling of the earth itself. Under a hidden cavern, away from prying eyes, a gigantic dark figure awakens. His eyes flashed open, full of malice and fury, as if his 1,000-year nap had just been rudely interrupted. The Haka sensed that someone was diddling with his reverse scale, and stood up. He unfurled his mighty wings and burst the ground open, sending tremors throughout the desert. With unbelievable speed, he flew up with only one place in mind. The villagers, jolted awake by the tremors, looked to the skies in horror. Their god, the subject of their fear and veneration, the Black Dragon, had shown himself after a long slumber. On the way to his shrine, Azi Dahaka wondered, just what fool dares to covet the power of the gods? The entire shrine that stood tall for generations had been reduced to rubble. Our sweet summer child, Ananta, was lying face down on the debris, both of his arms severed by the beam of light. When he woke up, he was so mesmerized by the sight of Mr. Gillo, standing in front of the light, that he didn't even feel the pain of his limbs. Being severed, the radiant flower had turned into something else, a power far more primal, far more immense. Mr. Gillo clutched its long, firm stem, thrilled to finally grasp the puzzle's missing piece. This is the miracle destined to bridge all horizons. As he extracted the mutated flower from the beam of light, Mr. Gillo's attire spontaneously disintegrated, revealing his perfectly chiseled physique. He was genuinely built differently. Without a single hint of hesitation, he plunged the hardened stem straight into his stomach. The flower's radiance quickly coursed directly into his solar plexus. So every nerve, every vein, capillary, and artery in his body surged with infinite power. After his guttural roars of agony finally faded, he was left groveling on the ground. And that's when Ajitahaka finally arrives, to punish whoever dared disturb his slumber. He then demanded of the foolish mortal, if he even grasped the consequences of taking the inverted scale, The evil incarnate then demanded to know the naked bastard's name. Yo-Yo simply smiled, utterly unfazed. A swirling power then enveloped him in a cocoon, and once he emerged, his mighty wings illuminated the dark field. With 6 massive wings, a disgustingly monstrous face, sharp talons, and an eye that sees all, Mr. Gillo then introduced himself as the winged incarnate. When Ananta finally managed to open his eyes and make sense of the chaotic situation, he saw a colossal dragon fighting against a bizarre, almost angelic bird. Ajitahaka could feel the multiple treasures that had been absorbed into Gillo's very being. He thought it utterly impossible for an ordinary incarnate to withstand such immense power, but he thought wrong. The flame of anger inside the black dragon's heart was fiercely stoked as he grimly imagined what this creature had done to the treasure's owners. Guyao simply answered, without a shred of remorse, that he merely killed 5 out of the 6 original incarnates and stole their sacred treasures. Now tonight, he intends to finish the job and eliminate the last one. He powerfully flapped his wings, and his feathers shot out like a deadly hail of bullets. Ajitahaka simply used his scaled wings to defend against this simple attack. Without the treasure of the gods, this ugly bird is pathetically weak. Guayu is unfazed by the taunts from the last remnant of the age of gods, for he's determined to tame this dragon. Right here and right now, Ajitahaka dared him to try it. While blasting a pillar of scorching flames into the skies, Guayu easily maneuvered out of the way. His 6 wings definitely not just for show. Since he wants an aerial battle, the evil incarnate joins him in the skies. It has turned into a cat and mouse game. Only if the cat and the mouse were a dragon, and a thieving, biblically accurate angel. They continued to rise in altitude, with the black dragon hot on Guayu's heels. As they rose even higher, Ajitahaka conjured multiple fire spells around his body, all of them homing on the thief. The dark flames shot out fast and strong, like nuclear bombs with untold power. Guayu focused his power on the singular eye in his chest and chanted, "Let there be light." Bro is trying so hard to be God, as pretentious as it was the light, effectively neutralized the dark flames in one fell swoop. Since his flames didn't do any damage, the dark dragon summoned the power of darkness. It was so menacing that it changed the art style. He slashed with his wings, and a dark hail of blades rushed to tear Guayu apart. But the winged incarnate simply grinned at such a mediocre attack. He countered with a hail of blades of his own, each one made of light itself. Guayu flexed his terrifying control and power by accurately pinpointing each dark blade and bursting it with his own. Each of the light blades continued their momentum, eager to pierce the dragon's body. Once they converged and skewered the evil incarnate, a massive and bright explosion lit up the night sky. For as far as the eye could see, the villagers could only watch as their god got bodied by the random foreigner they took in a week ago. Meanwhile, the armless Ananta fought desperately to rise. He gasped, desperately trying to catch his breath, but each gasp of air burned his lungs. Even amidst such agony, his only concern was his sister. At last, the final one of the first 6 incarnates had fallen. His once mighty form now lay disheveled and riddled with damage. Meanwhile, Gillo, on the other hand, looked utterly ready for another god-level battle. Without breaking a sweat, he flashed a smug smile after obliterating the dragon's heart and vanquishing the final boss. He certainly earned the right to be a little smug. But that infuriating snicker was pushing it, though. Finally, with all his hard work complete, he possessed all the tools to ascend to the heavens. And so, Mr. Gillo, the wings incarnate, soared to the clouds and never stopped. Ananta gazed upon the consequences of his foolish actions, filled with fear and utter devastation. He had only wanted to help his sister, but instead, he'd forged a peerless deity. With Ajitahaka's dying breath, the dragon called out to the child and asked if he had helped bring ruin to everything. Ananta trembled beneath the dying dragon's gaze as he profusely apologized for his foolishness as an evil god writhing at death's door. Ajitahaka had no intention of forgiving the child's foolish actions at all. And so, he bestowed a terrible curse upon poor Ananta, a curse that came at the cost of the evil incarnate's physical body, allowing his own flesh to rot away in darkness, all just to spite a kid. The remaining power within his gigantic frame sizzled and bubbled furiously. Ajitahaka's remaining spiritual force twisted into the form of pure darkness and raw ferocity. The body once deemed too tough to pierce was ripped apart to make way for the Avatar's escape. Ananta stared, horrified, at the evil god's perverse wailing, his young mind barely comprehending the horrific scene, fueled by an unfathomable hatred. The dragon's spiritual force surged to the skies once more. He visibly burned through his dwindling spiritual force every second, but he had one last petty agenda to fulfill. Once Ananta realized where the monster was heading, a chill of pure dread crept up his spine. That goddamn dragon is heading straight for the village. A monstrous vision, a physical embodiment of hell itself. Ajitahaka quickly reached his chilling destination. In a terrifying blink, he saw the ancestors of the very men and women who had worshipped him for generations. And without a flicker of hesitation, he burned them all, down to smoldering ashes. Piercing screams of agony from those burned alive filled the air. Ashta, Ananta's caring and affectionate older sister, was among the unfortunate victims. The entire village was utterly annihilated in just one devastating flyby. Ananta wept and wept. He lost his arms, and now he lost everything else, too. But the evil incarnate wasn't done with him just yet. Before completely dissipating into nothingness, Ajitahaka finalized the dreadful curse on the boy. He slammed his spiritual body right into Ananta's fragile, little, armless frame. He invaded every orifice, thoroughly invading the boy's very body, and slowly, horrifically reconstructing his severed limbs. His veins pulsed, strengthened, and filled with the raw power of a dragon. His heart relentlessly pumped and circulated, and pure darkness throughout his entire body, and his physical form transformed into an incomprehensible monster, a creature forged of pure hatred. Ananta's figure shifted and mutated. His bones audibly crunched and expanded, and his flesh bubbled and grotesquely ballooned. With this horrific integration, the foolish mortal shall forever wallow in a mire of death, an unending calamity. The boy was fully transformed, a vessel of the dark, dragon's remaining malevolent power. Thus, the years relentlessly rolled forward, unveiling Ananta's brutal warpath. A relentless march of vengeance, forged in blood, darkness, and unyielding fury. A fierce beast once told a valiant warrior that, without fangs in his mouth and claws in his hands, his greatest weapon would be something far more potent. In this draconic beast's case, his boundless anger and raw tenacity became his weapons. He tore through a pack of wolves, as if they were mere cannon fodder, to be ground down into a pulpy paste. From his very blood, sweat, flesh, and bones, he ravenously devours the corpses of his enemies, targeting the alpha of the pack. The beast viciously sank its fangs into his neck, with superior force ripping it apart, making blood and gore burst forth with the wail of a dragon's rage. He shall kill and kill again in this world. Beasts possessing mysterious powers are dubbed as mystics. The few mystics made in the form of humans, molded by the gods, were called incarnates. Most of them helped humanity in their own ways, but there were those who became drunk on their own power. They were thusly dubbed as evil deities. In some random, creepy forest, a group of raiders hunts down their remaining prey. They laughed and joked around, while slaughtering civilians, with the blood of the innocent still dripping from their blades. They took all valuables worth selling. Before heading back to their hideout, they jested that the monster of the woods might be watching. When they saw all the dead, wild beasts strewn around the area, they realized that their jokes might not be far from reality. At first glance, it seems like a territorial fight, but it looks more like a massacre. And among the corpses was a man, leaning against the remains of a dead mystic. The raiders immediately dismissed the idea that a single man slaughtered all these beasts just when they were about to look for loot. A familiar lizard stepped in to bite a raider's ankles. Before they could get rid of the little critter, the mysterious man awakens. He unleashed a vicious punch that knocked out one of the scumbags. He boldly declared that anyone who dares to lay a finger on his pet will meet their bloody end. Still clueless as to what they were in for, the raiders drew their weapons and turned them on our boy Ananta. Years have flown by, and he's transformed into a bloodthirsty warrior. He issued a chilling warning to the raiders. If they still hope to see their loved ones, they'd better retreat right away. Rest rarely comes easily to him. After hacking down anything other than animals, but he wouldn't hesitate for a moment. Ignoring his warnings, the raiders encircled him and charged, wielding his trusty axe. Ananta carved a path through the hardened raiders, painting the ground with their blood and viscera. Recognizing his immense threat level, the crossbowmen wisely kept their distance and locked their weapons onto him. The moment they fired, Ananta clutched his lizard pet to his chest and shielded the little critter using his body. If he were a normal human, the arrow damage would have been more than enough to kill him. But he's far from normal. Ananta's inner demon shrieked with an unholy sound as the power of the black dragon unleashed itself. After all these years, the spirit of Ajitahaka had fully fused with his body. The malevolent deity began to take over, amplifying his power and ruthlessness to an insane level. Yet Ananta fought through it and halted the transformation. Halfway through dispelling the dark energy, he crumpled to the ground, gritting his teeth against the searing pain. In the end, he was taken alive and brought to the raiders' village. The village boss was stunned that alone man could have possibly taken down such a powerful wolf mystic while tied to a post. He warned his captors that they absolutely must burn the mystic's corpse as quickly as possible. When asked why he fought and killed the beast, Ananta simply replied that he was hungry. The raiders who had captured him were still deeply wary of the transformation they witnessed earlier with their own eyes. Their fear was reinforced by recent rumors of an evil deity that devours dead bodies around the area. But all the boss could see was a human. A human couldn't possibly leave such a massive, and a gnarly bite mark scarred the wolf mystic. This means Ananta is an evil deity in disguise. Upon hearing their remarks, he scoffed and laughed at their utter cluelessness. He found it utterly ridiculous that these lowlives thought they were safe inside their flimsy wooden walls. They were foolish enough to tie up an actual evil deity, a mystic devouring being with mere chains. These dumbass raiders couldn't even restrain him properly. The unsettling atmosphere was further worsened by the stench of dripping, putrid blood. The corpse of the wolf mystic had broken free and chomped down on one of the raiders. Ananta had already tried to warn them that this was no ordinary corpse. It was a mystic who had become a servant to another evil deity. In other words, an abomination. The warning bells of the village rang out, alerting the raiders to the emergency. The wolves hiding in the woods had come to rally with the corpse of their leader for a coordinated evil deity attack. Behind them was the silhouette of the horned culprit, orchestrating the assault. It's a rotten, evil deity that emanated the very aura of death. Under its command, the wolves worked together to climb over the walls, one by one. Once inside, they took the raiders by surprise. These humans were no match against the relentless charge of the beasts. They had to resort to using fire as a means to stop the downpour of wolves inside the village, burning the very walls that protected them in the process. While most of the wolves burned to a crisp, Ananta readied himself for the real fight. His bones crunched and expanded. He beckoned to his hunger and thirst to spew and rage. With blood and sweat, flesh and bone, Ananta transformed into the black dragon. His sights were set on the evil deity, the root cause of it all. He vowed to open his jaws wide and devour it all. Ananta is not fucking around. He faced off against the evil deity and swore to disfigure the bastard once and for all when he was through. The deity's face would embody the terror of prey, staring death in the face. In response, the deity let out a horrifically shrill roar from deep within the woods. The rest of the beasts under the deity's control came rushing in. Boars, wolves, elks, goats, and stags poured in, all setting their sights on the black dragon. As soon as they entered Ananta's kill range, they were instantly crushed into meat paste. With his empowered dragon claws, Ananta lunged forward, shredding through the beast's hide like it was paper. As he got closer to the mastermind, the deity unleashed its dark magic. Infirmity becomes you. Its body crackled and morphed, growing bigger and sturdier, ready for combat. And so, the two powerhouses clashed. Ananta didn't bother wasting energy on defense. As soon as he got close, it devolved into a full-on bloody brawl. With his claws, he slashed and stabbed away at the deity's body. The enemy kept up with his ferocity, responding with vicious slashes of its own. That gave the black dragon an opening to exploit. He grabbed the deity's limb. Catching off guard, he cocked his fist, charging it with the power of the evil incarnate, and sent the deity flying with a malicious uppercut after sending the bastard flying. Ananta relentlessly chased, chaining another combo, refusing to let up. After maiming the deity beyond recognition, he slowly dispelled his transformation, gradually turning back into his human form. It looked like the fight ended in a completely one-sided manner. Surprisingly, beneath the fearsome form of the evil deity was a young woman with white hair. Ananta grabbed the girl by the neck, yanking her out of the gore. Based on the empty look in her eyes, it seemed like she'd been moving unconsciously the whole time. Ananta's single moment of hesitation left him open for a sneak attack. For a split second, a colossal crow descended from the skies, launching sharp feathers. It finally makes sense. The girl was just another victim after all. The evil deity, previously devouring corpses, was this giant crow all along. The murder bird's body cracked and began to shrink, revealing an old man, dripping with the aura of death. He was quite impressed that Ananta managed to defeat his strongest puppet. He had been watching the young man ever since he wandered into this land, curious as to what he truly sought. Ananta, however, wasn't a fan of useless, long-winded drivel. He tossed the girl back toward the crow, ready to throw down at any moment. He had no interest in the inane mumbling of beasts. He taunted the crow, daring it to come at him, and he'd be happy to end the bird's miserable life. The birdman's power was the ability to control the dead, the thought of killing, and taking control of the black dragon's corpse. To forge a puppet far more formidable than the deer was endlessly appealing to him. Casting Infirmity Becomes You, the dead wolves, and a plethora of beast corpses in the vicinity regained the fire of life. Even the dead raiders began to stand, no matter how badly their bodies were maimed. Ananta found himself surrounded at every angle. He was on track to be swallowed in a literal sea of bloody corpses, controlled by the crow. Wolves bit into his flesh. Arrows burrowed deep into his skin. Blades stabbed into his very frame. And the corpses bulldozed him in every way they could imagine. Seeing Ananta's blood flow freely, the crow let out a triumphant laugh and mockingly asked if that was all he had. With his razor-sharp talons, he delivered the killing blow with a supersonic stab. All that's left now is the final cry of agony before he finally croaks, but instead of an agonized scream, Ananta's mouth curled into a twisted grin, and an amused laugh escaped him. The power of Ajitahaka enveloped his body once more, erasing his grievous injuries instantly. Immediately, his aura overpowered the stench of death, thwarting the crow completely. One look at the black dragon's true form, up close, he plunged the crow into a horror it had never known, a terror it had never experienced before. Ananta loves to toy with his enemies, offering a glimmer of hope right before he unleashes his true, terrifying power. Now, all he wants is to hear this foul creature croak, and how like the pathetic beast it truly is, invoking the power of the evil incarnate within him. He chomped down and utterly crushed the crow with his monstrous fangs. It was a brutal, one-sided mismatch of raw power, facing the godlike power of the black dragon. The crow might as well have been a common chicken dinner. And just like that, its soul was consumed, incorporated into the vast sea of countless beasts that Ananta had devoured throughout the years, while he mercilessly fed on his prey. The mastermind behind the anomalies in the woods, the woman woke up to a sight of horrors, beyond all human comprehension. She saw the young man's incorporeal dragon form, its terrifying gaze fixed on her, and a primal, bone-chilling fear seized her heart. Stepping away from the hellish scene, Ananta walked towards the terrified girl, causing her to flinch back in terror. He directly asked her if she had been freed from the evil deity's control. Her head throbbed with a searing pain, as memories of a radiant being with 6 wings flashed vividly in her mind. As soon as she mentioned those brilliantly shining wings, Ananta's eyes immediately flared with fury. He realized then that she might be another victim of the wings. Ananta introduced himself as the sole surviving descendant of the Black Dragon, the one destined to devour all evil deities in this cursed plane and slay the wing incarnate itself. When the sun finally rose, the only survivors of the massacre were the girl, Ananta, and his loyal lizard companion, still reeling from the shock of being brainwashed. The girl, utterly overwhelmed, could not understand anything about his urgent proclamation. She had no clue what the Black Dragon was, or what the wing incarnate even meant. But she tried to remember. By digging deep into her subconscious, a sudden jolt in her brain knocked the girl unconscious. It's a bit of a hassle, but she might still prove useful for Ananta's mission. As she drifted into unconsciousness, the nightmare of being relentlessly pursued by the deity relentlessly replayed in her mind. She slipped on the blood of her victims, staining her very body with her sins. The men and beasts she devoured, completely beyond her control, haunted her very psyche. And towering above it all was the wings incarnate, the sole beacon of light in her dark and bloody world. His smile offered a fleeting sense of comfort, a salvation from all the harm and suffering she had caused. When she finally awoke from the nightmare, she was greeted by a cheerful girl. Judging by her bunny ears, she appeared to be another incarnate. Ananta, on the other hand, ordered his pet Ruby to deal with the corpse mountain. With her surprisingly small body, Ruby unleashed a massive torrent of flame that consumed the remains of yesterday's war. As the inferno blazed higher, the souls of the damned let out one last, ear-piercing screech. With that, all the abominations under the evil crow, deity's control, were finally dealt with. Ananta strode towards the bunny girl and smacked her on the head for bringing him worthless information. As an info mercenary, she was quite terrible at her job. Ananta had wasted his time on another bad lead. But since he'd handled the problem in these woods, he was still entitled to his pay. The bunny girl was more concerned about the mysterious girl's identity, though. She didn't quite grasp what was happening yet. But she did remember her name was Nadia. Bunny girl was quite fascinated to meet yet another victim of the wings incarnate. Apart from Ananta himself, she then pulled out a magical pocket watch and pressed down on its pusher. Suddenly, a massive sinkhole opened beneath their feet. They all plummeted down the hole. Ananta and the bunny girl were used to this by now, but the same couldn't be said for poor Nadia. After a few seconds of free fall, the group arrived in the outskirts of a town, built around a magnificent giant tree. Bunny girl finally revealed her true identity. She's a member of Rabbit's Foot, the largest information network on the entire continent. The ever-adorable info broker, Whitefoot, has been Ananta's longtime partner in crime. Right now, they're deep in the largest trade city of the South, the bustling city of Carpes, where a colossal tree stands before them. And it's the sacred white lotus tree. Nadia sharply cut off her explanation. While she appreciates their saving her from the clutches of the evil deity, she's not interested in any one-sided lectures. What she really wants are some straight answers. First off, why on earth did they even drag her to this bizarre city in the first place? Ananta rudely silences her, ordering her to just follow him. It's better if they simply show Nadia the real reason they're here. She then asks, who exactly is this Wings incarnate they're after? This sours Ananta's mood even further. He scowls, replying that he's a vile monster who dares to call himself a god. Whitefoot chimes in, explaining that the Wings incarnate can bestow immense power upon others, much like the ancient gods created their own incarnates. However, with this false god, he grants an imperfect power, so flawed that it's difficult to tell if it's a blessing or a devastating curse. Finally, the group arrives in Carpe's seedy underbelly. Here in the black market, slaves are openly sold. Something drastic happened recently that's caused a massive boom in the local slave trade. Slave hunters are working overtime, bringing in all sorts of foreigners and vagrants, even going as far as selling powerful mystics. Before Nadia can ask any more questions, Ananta roughly shoves her into one of the slave houses. When she opens her eyes, she's surrounded by people who have had their lives forfeited the moment they were captured. They are all slated to be sacrificed to the Wings incarnate. They're the living lambs destined to be sacrificed at the very peak of the god tree. They're the fuel for this false god's power. And just like them, Nadia is about to become a key piece that will help Ananta acquire the Wings incarnate. From now on, she'll play the role of bait. The rest of the plan is now up to Whitefoot. Before Nana left, Nadia asked if he'd gathered all these human sacrifices himself. She called him despicable for committing such an atrocity. He's basically using innocent people as tools to get what he wants. But Ananta firmly believes you can't get revenge without getting a little blood on your hands. Nadia's protest fell on deaf ears, but Whitefoot agreed with everything she said. She even joked that, just thinking about all those poor people waiting for their horrible fate brings a tear to her eyes. But in Nadia's case, she has no choice but to play her part. She killed countless people while under the control of the evil deity. It's a bit hypocritical of her to criticize their methods when she caused more suffering than anyone else. Even if she hadn't done it of her own free will, it doesn't mean every crime she committed just disappears. Whitefoot asserted that Nadia's anger shouldn't be directed at her and Ananta. She must remember they share a common enemy, the wicked Wings incarnate. Meanwhile, our boy had already arrived at his next destination, Carpe's Coliseum. He's checking his gear and getting ready for more bloodshed. Whitefoot found him at the Coliseum gate. She's worried they might have overdone it this time around. Nevertheless, she managed to get Nadia to agree to help their cause. Right now, she's being led by the Guardians of the Wings to the temple in the White Lotus Tree. As planned, the living sacrifices will definitely be their ticket to meeting the Wings incarnate. They have Nadia inside the temple, a place usually inaccessible due to the White Lotus Tree's barrier. Offering her as a sacrifice also grants Ananta permission to fight in the arena. The winner of the Battle Royale will be awarded the White Lotus Tree branch to finally meet the Wings incarnate. Whitefoot thinks this plan is way too convoluted. If Ananta truly wanted to, he could have just demanded the false god's attention by going on a wild, murderous rampage. As cruel as he may be, there are certain lines he simply won't cross. He might be a monster, and yet he insists on distinguishing himself from mere beasts. He's trying to exact revenge while adhering to his ideals. As ironic as that might sound, Ananta just finished a feast after consuming an evil deity, and now he needs a bit of workout. He told Whitefoot to stay put and watch him slaughter beast after beast. She's just worried he'll attract too much attention and derail their plans. In the arena, the fight is already raging on. A line of organized knights raise their shields and spears against a colossal cheetah. The beast snarled, but the captain was unfazed as he rallied his troops. Their formation was disrupted, not by a beast attack, but by Ananta's sudden entrance. He called them clowns and demanded they stay out of his way. The cheetah dared to raise its claws against Ananta, and he easily countered with a vicious double-axe chop to swiftly end the bout. Whitefoot had already warned him not to draw so much attention. Yet here he was, dicing up a mystic like it was nothing. The knight captain could not believe his eyes. He had never seen a single human overpower a mystic to this degree. With the cheetah weakened, Ananta jumped in and whacked the overgrown kitty in the head. The crowd was speechless as they all heard the crunch of the mystic's skull. Ananta unleashed a guttural war cry that echoed throughout the entire arena. He sets his sights on the god tree, itching to get up there and chew the wings incarnate up alive. Meanwhile, the human sacrifices, including Nadia, they've been escorted past the tree's barrier. The man waiting for them at the end of the ruins assured them they have nothing to fear, for they are wholeheartedly welcome at his temple. The temple is protected by a barrier so powerful that people call it holy ground. No one knows why, but the Wings Incarnate has established it as his nest and demands living sacrifices. Those who offer sacrifices are given the chance to fight in the Carpe's arena. If they prove their might against powerful mystics, the fighters are rewarded with a god tree's branch. They are then bestowed great power by the false god and inducted into the Guardians of the Wings. In order to break through that airtight defense, Nadia will blend in as a sacrifice. She begrudgingly agreed to the plan, but she's still curious as to why Ananta is so hell-bent on killing the Wings Incarnate. Whitefoot can't tell her the exact reason at the moment, but if there was ever such a thing as Revenge Incarnate, she couldn't imagine a better fit than Ananta. Back to the present, the dubious-looking Wings Incarnate called on his sacrifices to lift their eyes and behold his presence. He asserted that he is the Holy One revered by all, the master of the sacred tree, and the one that resonates with the drum of enlightenment. In a world of darkness, behold his holy name. Balzac, bro's name is literally Balsac. He promised that his living sacrifices would know compassion and would attain immeasurable joy. All they have to do is commit themselves to the wings of salvation. One of the sacrifices dropped to her knees and begged for her and her little sister to be spared. Balzac raised his hand, applauding their noble heart, before making the girl's head explode on the spot. Her little sister watched as blood, skull fragments, and brain matter blasted everywhere. None of the sacrifices dared to speak up. After that, Balzac plopped down onto his throne and insisted that all were equal before death. All he did was liberate the girl from fear and pity. Nevertheless, soon everyone would join her in nirvana. One guardian moved to draw his blade. After spotting something peculiar about one of the captives, Nadia finally snapped and summoned her monstrous deer form. Her aura spread across the temple, choking the guardians one by one. She called Balzac out, exposing him as a false savior, just another vile murderer. He never expected that an incarnate was hiding among his sacrifices. This time, though, he found him using Yggdrasil Cernunnos. With those two words chanted, Nadia was cloaked in the dark energy of the incarnate, pulsing inside her body. She still felt the crushing guilt and burden of being responsible for countless atrocities. She almost succumbed to her own power, but a kid's plea to not lose pulled her back. With renewed determination, Nadia commanded a drizzle to raise a forest right there inside the temple. Vines and branches snaked out, grabbing hold of the guardians, while the rest of the winding stems formed a protective barrier around the sacrifices. Nadia promised to protect everyone, but Balzac quickly shot back with a lightning-fast attack against the impertinent. Furious, he feels insulted that a nameless incarnate from the borderlands would even dare to challenge someone as renowned as him. But now that Nadia's mind was clearer than ever, she finally remembered that she was the nature incarnate. Nadia easily blocked the first attack and felt no real threat. Beckoning the very power of nature, she formed a hammer made of Yggdrasil vines. With this wooden construct, she intended to crush Balzac once and for all. And with a cheeky grin, Balzac summoned an immense, ancient power. As he chanted his spell, "Annihilation becomes you." The explosion could be heard all the way down in Carpe's arena. Ananta knew he was running out of time. Nadia watched in horror as her attack shattered into a million little pieces. Yggdrasil cast her most powerful offensive spell, was instantly nullified with a single blow. Balzac then scoffed, asking if that was truly the last of her unsightly tricks. He snapped his fingers, and a massive, grotesque creature erupted from the ground, with its truly decrepit appearance. The creature looked exactly like an abomination. Before Nadia could even comprehend what was happening, two sharp bone spikes had already plunged deep into her body. Balzac proudly introduced his grotesque, faithful servant to the astonished world. For someone who claims to be a god, he sure has incredibly demonic tastes. Carpi's favorite pastime continued on, despite the immense commotion above them. Ananta expertly sliced his way through every mystic beast that the arena unleashed upon him. He gazed directly into a white tiger's eyes and instantly understood the resentment it felt as a profound sign of respect. He did not avert his gaze from the beast's death. With one powerful swing, he crushed the valiant beast's skull. The knights, who had been sidelined, certainly didn't expect that. They would be pushed out of contention, with the mysterious young man claiming the decisive win. Just as was expected, Ananta was officially declared the winner of the arena. After the trial, the guardians emerged to bestow the sacred branch of the white lotus tree upon the victor. Meanwhile, the leader of the knights, Lord Bernhard, told his men that even if they lost, their plan would still proceed. They were absolutely determined to get the branch, no matter what. Ananta took the sacred branch into his hand. This was his vital ticket for the next part of the plan. Back in the temple, Nadia was slowly bleeding out, after being completely caught off guard by Balzac's speed. Despite her grave injuries, she still had to confront the abomination under the false god's insidious control. At this point, she was only protecting the sacrifices out of sheer unyielding stubbornness. The very people she was protecting had long since already fallen into despair. Giving them salvation from this prison of terror would be a true mercy at this point. Angered by his cruel, delusional words, Nadia suddenly gained a powerful second wind as she cursed Balzac, calling him a disgusting, evil deity who spreads nothing but death and terror. But Balzac, ever the villain, believes true salvation can only be born from despair. He bypassed Nadia's protective barrier and summoned branches of his own, picking off the sacrifices, one agonizing stab at a time. In a split second, the very people she fought to protect were helplessly massacred before her eyes. Then came the abomination, towering over the nature incarnate. She summoned Yggdrasil once more, stabbing its roots deep into the monster's deathly flesh. Balzac continued with his deluded, godlike savior drivel, an unhinged smile plastered on his face. The very branches that killed the living sacrifices began extracting their life essence, their very souls. These souls flowed directly into the ungodly abomination. Balzac was simply siphoning their essences into the wilderness of hell, where both life and death coexist in a twisted dance. He is immortal, while all humans must someday face death. Therefore, he claims to be the only existence that can truly bring meaning to insignificant lives. Not even his own guardians were spared. Using them as vessels, Balzac juiced up his abominations, deeming everyone else as mere insignificance, nourishment for his white lotus tree, to create his army of immortal warriors. He firmly believes that life shall be circulated as the light protecting his noble tree. When Nadia thought of just how many lives Balzac had claimed, her rage flared up intensely. As much as she wanted to bash the false god's face in, she was completely outclassed. He confessed that he has taken so many lives that counting them has become utterly meaningless. But before he could finish her off, the temple gates slowly rumbled open. A dark presence barged into the holy ground, narrowly missing Balzac by a hair's breadth. It was, of course, our boy Ananta, equipped with the holy branch. He came in with a burning intent to kill. Balzac was caught completely off guard, giving Ananta the perfect opening to stab the false god directly in the face, with his impromptu weapon still deeply embedded in Balzac's face. He turned to Nadia and sarcastically commended her luck for surviving this long. Unfortunately, the branch from the White Lotus tree wasn't exactly an effective weapon against this bastard. All it really did was infuriate Balzac, revealing his true, heinous colors. He still couldn't fathom that someone had managed to slaughter all the guards and reach the sacred shrine all by himself. When Ananta finally got a clearer look at the enemy's face, he demanded to know who the hell this bastard he'd just stabbed actually was. He then asked Nadia why she was wasting her time with such a nobody, instead of fighting the true Wings incarnate. Hearing Ananta's blasphemous words angered Balzac, even more than the stab wound itself. Ananta had dared to trespass into his holy sanctuary, and now he even dared to openly show contempt for the Wings incarnate. The false god began to transform into his grotesque, true form, vowing to personally rip out the young man's irreverent tongue with his bare hands. Ananta, however, simply told the bitch-ass imposter to shut up and stop cosplaying as the Wings incarnate. Meanwhile, Lord Bernhard, leader of the Arena Knights, was also relentlessly slaughtering the Guardians for his own agenda. With what remained of his battered troops, he rallied them forward, determined to kill everyone who dared to stand in their way. They had tried to time their entrance perfectly, right as the barrier was lowered for the victor, but their intended target was nowhere to be seen. When Bernhard finally peered through the main gate, expecting a trap, he saw the remaining Guardians utterly slaughtered and scattered lifelessly across the stairway. Perhaps the mystery man who had bested them in the arena was after the Wings incarnate as well. Back inside the temple, Nadia hesitantly asked what Nana meant by saying that Balzac was not the Wings incarnate. He reminded her exactly why people call this bastard the Wings incarnate in the first place. His most recognizable and defining trait is his 3 magnificent sets of white wings. Yet, this pathetic imposter delusionally claimed the name, without even a single proper set of wings. His impersonation lacked both effort and basic accuracy. Ananta was absolutely fuming, irritated by yet another wasted effort. He was certain he'd get his revenge. But standing before him was just another phony scumbag, always spouting off at the mouth. Balzac's lies completely exposed. He dropped all pretenses, refusing to listen. His remaining guardians charged Ananta with a kill order. They didn't even warrant a full transformation. He mutated one arm into a ferocious dragon's claw and cut Nadia loose. It's up to her to salvage an impossible situation. It turns out 2 of the sacrifices, the kids actually survived the massacre. Nadia's urgent task, retrieve the survivors and scramble to escape the temple. Ananta, on the other hand, used his single claw to rip the faces off these so-called immortal warriors, while he was busy painting the temple with the blood of its guardians. The deathly abomination opened its maw, exposing an unsettling amount of sharp teeth. Aiming at Ananta, it unleashed innumerable spikes. With incredible force, Nadia dove forward, shielding the kids from the impact with her body. Ananta was forced to unleash his full black dragon form, increasing his speed to dodge the spikes. He countered by hurtling his entire body against the bird-like abomination. At breakneck speeds, his massive, compact body, he came barreling down like a meteor, overwhelming the abomination with brute force. This disgusting monster was incredibly tough. It could tank clean hits and dish out vicious attacks of its own. But as soon as Ananta injected a touch of the evil incarnate's power into his fist, he caused substantial damage. With a single punch, he utterly crushed the abomination's jaw, crushing most of its fangs. If this were a one-on-one, it would have been a cakewalk. But Ananta is now up against another annoying bastard. Balzac's supersonic speed and immense power smashed the black dragon's chest. Under his talons, he praised the young man's strength. He found Ananta threatening enough to show his full power. Summoning his ancient power at point-blank range, he chanted, "Annihilation becomes you." Once more, Nadia, he suddenly recalled. This was the very spell that shattered his greatest weapon, but thankfully, Ananta wasn't foolish enough to get caught by a move with such a ridiculously long cast time. So he lunged, grabbing the bird's hand, and opened his maw, ready to chomp down on the chicken's head. Balzac was instantly forced to cancel his attack and quickly defend with his sharp talons. Calling Anunta a mindless barbarian, our boy tried to land another powerful swipe, but the chicken swiftly jumped backward and took to the skies, creating some much-needed space. Anunta chased after him with relentless intensity, because no matter how fast Balzac moved, he was always a hair's breadth away from being beheaded or mortally injured. The false god tried to use his advantage in air battles, but Anunta, incredibly, kept up with his ridiculous jumping capability. Unfortunately for the Black Dragon, though, Balzac was just trying to bait him into a disadvantaged state, leveraging his superior power in the skies. And then, the false god landed a devastating blow across Anunta's body. With the horrifying sharpness of his talons, the bird actually managed to slice off one of the Black Dragon's arms. Anunta roared, a mix of pain and pure annoyance, as the endless power of the evil incarnate within him quickly worked to regenerate the missing limb. Balzac was utterly taken aback. He thought he had finally cornered his enemy. He wasn't expecting a cheat skill, like complete regeneration. If losing a limb is solved in the blink of an eye, what else can an enemy possibly do to him? But to make matters even worse for the chicken, Anunta wasn't just a close combat specialist, using the scathing power of the Black Dragon. He could launch devastatingly sharp blows from afar. Balzac tried to defend against the projectile slash with his pathetic little twig-like branches. Unsurprisingly, the branches were quickly cut down, and the slash went on to slice his body in half. The imposter bird chirped with agony. He had truly never been pushed this hard before. His transformation was slowly becoming undone, and even while crawling on the ground, he still viewed the Black Dragon as a lowly, insignificant worm. And he still has the abomination under his control to keep Anunta occupied, and in the blink of an eye, the upper half of Balzac's body grotesquely merged with a vile abomination. With this repulsive new form, he intends to demonstrate the difference between himself and Anunta. Meanwhile, above the largest trade city in the south, the peaceful, sunny day was shattered by a dimensional crack, slowly spreading. A fist emerges from the ether, shattering the dimensional barrier like fragile glass. An ominous silhouette appeared before the city, seemingly arriving from a boundless, unknown space. A hooded figure stepped out of the dimensional crack, setting his sights directly on the colossal tree. Meanwhile, Balzac is arrogantly displaying what he claims are his brilliant new wings. He kept on spouting, insisting that he was the true wings incarnate. Tired of hearing his nonsense, Anunta seized an opening and plunged his claws directly into the imposter. Even such a heinous injury wasn't enough to put the dirty chicken to rest. Borrowing the power of the white lotus tree, he spawned some twigs to restrain the Black Dragon's movement, while the target is held in place. Balzac opens his distorted stomach mouth, and countless spiked fangs erupt. He dropped all pretenses and threatened to grind Anunta into minced meat, once and for all. While the spikes were launched, the Black Dragon readied his claws for defense. The resulting clash kicked up a storm of debris, using the dust as cover. The Black Dragon moved with incredible speed to get a better angle of attack. But when Balzac noticed where he was, the scathing fist of the Black Dragon was already in lethal range. As soon as his first punch landed, Anunta did not give the chicken another moment to breathe and compose himself. Even with such a primal series of attacks, the Black Dragon still remained cautious and dodged as soon as Balzac found the strength to counter, quickly losing momentum and blood. The arrogant chicken simmered with frustration. The instant Anunta touched down, Balzac finally recognized the reason for his overwhelming disadvantage: the sheer speed. The Black Dragon's form had transformed once more. Anunta, ensnared by the twig trap, didn't hesitate to sever his own legs to escape the peril mid-flight. He instantly regenerated new legs, perfectly adapting their shape for unparalleled velocity. He moves faster than the eye can follow. He possesses instant healing and shape-shifting. He is virtually invincible armed with this unfair combination of abilities. But even with such a power disparity, Balzac remains obsessed with annihilating the heretic, who brazenly defies his authority. He once again drew upon the power of the White Lotus Tree, seeking to trap the Black Dragon, hoping to ensnare him with the same old trick. Despite the roots moving even faster, he struggled to pin down the nimble dragon, who now boasted legs built for pure speed. Ananta, on his end, was also facing difficulties. Despite landing countless killing blows, Balzac would instantly regenerate so long as his link to the White Lotus Tree persisted. Should this fight continue to drag on, he would surely lose this war of attrition. Ananta's focus shifted to the tree itself, and he braced his powerful legs, preparing for the ultimate leap he could execute. He shot skyward vertically, blasting a massive hole through the temple ceiling. His impact caused a grave instability, sending the temple slowly crumbling down. Consequentially, the roots snared him mid-flight. Balzac scoffed at Ananta's plan to crush him with the falling debris. From this vantage point, it seemed like checkmate. The Black Dragon lay utterly restrained, as the grotesque maw of the abomination gaped open. Upon being questioned about his body count, he haughtily reiterated that counting his victims was a waste of effort and utterly pointless. Very well then, Ananta decided to let the burden of those deaths bring about the false god's utter annihilation. Invoking the power of the last evil deity he devoured, the Black Dragon unleashed, infirmity becomes you. From the gaping hole in the ceiling, the reanimated sacrifices, once alive, straight out of the White Lotus Tree, came pouring down with their decomposing bodies. They desperately tried to cling to the monster that had sentenced them to their grim fate. They bit, stabbed, and clawed at the flesh of the false god who'd sacrificed them for his own twisted gain. Balzac had killed so many that they formed a gruesome mountain of death around him. The physical evidence of his heinous sins clung to every inch of the abomination's being, practically bleeding out of every pore. The only thing he could think of was making even more live sacrifices. But his deplorable desire to consume life was suddenly impeded by a dazzling light beam. Bursting from another dimensional crack, the radiant beam descended like the hammer of justice, pulverizing what remained of the abomination's body. A mysterious being from the boundless space had intervened and finished the job. He looked at Nadia with a cold, emotionless glare. The otherworlder then dropped to his knees, lowering his head in complete submission. As he asked if his lord enjoyed this little trip, the white-haired kid Nadia, saved, slowly got up. Much to everyone's surprise, the boy's body expanded. His white hair grew, and his voice deepened. He reprimanded the otherworlder, Baharan, for making such a crude entrance. The man ripped the rags off his body, exposing a chiseled frame. Under the brilliant light of the sun, Gillo, the wings incarnate, has finally shown himself. Whitefoot watched the bizarre development from afar and immediately reported back to Rabbitfoot. The appearance of the ruptured space in the sky will surely cause a stir. She also identified that the Wings assistant had shown up, which pretty much confirms that the Wings incarnate himself is now in the city. Mr. Gillo walked out like a supermodel. After the fight had concluded, his mere presence alone made Nadia's heart pound erratically. Meanwhile, Balzac still clings to the last vestiges of life, a mere whisper of existence. He gazed up at the man he had been impersonating and recognized Gillo. It was Gillo, the ruthless lord he once served, the one who had stripped him of his wings. His wings, however, had only been removed as punishment for his power-drunk madness. Beharan clamped a hand around Balzac's neck, while Gillo lectured his disgraced underling, stating that such wings were only for those worthy of ascending to the heavens. Balzac still felt the bitter pang of betrayal in his bones, for he was the one who revered his lord more than any other. He had sacrificed tens of thousands of lives just to create the body of the abomination and regain his wings. But the foolish Balzac simply never grasped how truly insignificant he was in the grand scheme of things, like the pathetic wretch he was. With a single touch from his former lord, the false gods scattered into dust. Under the mountain of decomposing corpses, Ananta's eyes snapped open. He remembered what Gillo had said to him. All those years ago, he yearned to find a world beyond their own, a world that connects to the land of gods. Until he achieves that dream, his journey will never end. He would do everything in his power, even if he had to make enemies of everyone else in the world, even if his actions led to pain and suffering for everyone else, even at the cost of countless innocent lives. Remembering Ashta pumped Ananta's veins full of rage, Behan regrettably reported that the White Lotus tree appeared to have nothing to do with Gillo's endgame. Balzac had simply combined the power of the branch with a god tree. It would be shameful to compare it to the world tree itself at this point. Gillo was now more interested in meeting a certain acquaintance in the form of Nadia. Beaten and bloodied, Ananta climbed out from the mountain of corpses and set his sights on his lifelong target. The black dragon pushes his power to the absolute limit. His claws grow sharper than ever before. He unleashes two bloody air slashes forward, hoping to cut down the wings incarnate from afar. But before the attack can even touch Gillo, the loyal Beharan jumps in to defend his boss. After all these years of chasing leads and accumulating immense strength, Ananta has finally found the object of his hatred. Like a wild animal, he charges forward, moving faster than he ever has before. Beharan stands his ground, ready to defend his boss from any harm. When the two finally collide, it's a completely one-sided beatdown. A single punch from the odd-looking fella blasts Ananta's head cleanly off. But with the black dragon's unparalleled vitality, his head quickly reforms and regenerates. From his skull to the flesh, skin, and scales, Ananta becomes whole once more. His wrath grows exponentially by the second, since it appears there's no room for talking. Beharan squares up. The black dragon returns the favor with a powerful punch of his own, almost twisting Beharan's neck clean off, while the two titans go blow for blow. The Wings Incarnate's gaze is fixed on Nadia, just when he's about to touch her. Lord Bernard, who's been patiently biding his time, comes in swinging with his mighty axe. Such a crude attack is easily avoided by Gillo. He praises the warrior's unrelenting drive, as seasoned old Bernhard has been trying to hunt him down for a while now. On the other side of the temple, the black dragon is still trying to force his way through Beharan. And failing. He can't focus on the enemy in front of him, as he's tunnel-visioned on killing Gillo. Ananta just wants to rip Beharan to shreds and end everyone's lives. Sensing a change in his aura, Gillo's lapdog jumps back in caution. The black dragon's body is stretching and growing at a visible, alarming rate. His scales are becoming larger to accommodate the expanding flesh and bones underneath. His back splits open as the black dragon's wings unfurl to their full, terrifying span. With a deafening, earth-shattering roar, Ananta left everyone nearby utterly stunned. Ajitahaka's true, monstrous form has finally revealed itself, fueled by Ananta's uncontrolled frenzy. Pure evil has once again cast its shadow upon the world. Gillo simply smirked, seeing this as his chance for a truly pleasant reunion with an old, familiar foe. Ajitahaka, the mighty black dragon, has returned for round 2. Deep within his subconscious, Ananta was utterly consumed by the evil incarnate. Stripped of all control, our hero found himself trapped in his mind. Ananta had no idea where he was or how he'd ended up there, but he knew he had to break free and fast. The lingering spirit of the black dragon appeared before him, urging him to recall the true target of his burning desire for revenge, the vile man who had stolen everything from him. Ajitahaka demands the cursed mortal surrender his body to pure rage and to unleash an unending wail. Meanwhile, in the waking world, the black dragon lifted its massive claw, pouncing on Beharan. Gillo's loyal lapdog barely managed to dodge out of the way. Observing his sudden silence, it became clear that Ananta had completely abandoned all self-control. Beharin clenched his fist, locking his gaze on the beast, mocking the young man as pathetic for losing his head. The black dragon immediately responded to the insult by blasting him with searing hellfire. Gillo's lapdog countered with a powerful punch that unleashed a powerful burst of golden light. Their attacks clashed, igniting a massive sonic boom. Gillo calmly watched the chaos unfold from afar, shielding himself from the residual shockwave by unfurling his pristine white wings. He glanced to his side, seeing old Bernhard still standing, still strong, even as the unquenchable flames of hell threatened to engulf him entirely. Yet he remained utterly composed. Though they were enemies, Gillo couldn't help but acknowledge Bernhard's incredible resilience. The veteran warrior charged in, axe in hand, desperate to put an end to Gillo's world-shattering delusions. But the vast difference between their powers was as vast as heaven and earth. An almost imperceptible prick nearly eliminated Bernhard. Right then and there, in an instant, Gillo unleashed a focused flash of light, sending the old warrior tumbling to the ground. The winged incarnate then turned his attention back to Nadia, noting how much she had changed since they last met. She never used to tremble in his presence, but it's finally getting to her now. She had met Gillo before, when he was an angelic figure, who served as her only source of light in her blood-soaked memories. He gave her the echo of the branch, proof that she had been selected as a vessel for a great tree. You see, a branch is a miraculous product that breaks down the walls of an incarnate, thus conveying transcendental power. Gillo believes they are the key to connecting the horizons of different worlds. His most earnest desire, the winged incarnate, walked up to the abomination's corpse and combined it with the branch. The gigantic body, born from tens of thousands of human sacrifices, was assaulted by heavenly lightning until it was molded into a new vessel, a child molded from countless souls, and now freed from its bird's cage. Gillo called the kid his brother, with an unhinged look plastered on his face. The chiseled abomination named himself Ziz. Back to the action, Beharin is still impressively pushing back the evil incarnate. He's outclassed in every category, especially in size. But Gillo's lapdog is quite the powerhouse. His golden punches can go toe-to-toe with one of the first 6 incarnates, made by the old gods. Azi Dahaka roared and shook the entire temple down to its foundations. It flapped its wings and slowly gained altitude, blasting through the ceiling as if it didn't exist. The black dragon took to the skies. The crumbling temple was destroyed even further. Gillo assured Ziz that, even if they're going against the evil incarnate, there's nothing to fear from above. Azi Dahaka charged up a massive ball of hellfire, an attack so massive it threatened to destroy the whole city. When he fired the blazing orb, doom and destruction awaited everyone caught within the blast radius. Gillo, however, remained unfazed. In fact, he considered this flimsy attack an outright insult. It was as if the black dragon looked down upon him. He firmly believed that the firmaments held no place for Ajidahaka. With a serene voice, he summoned his godlike powers and declared, "Let there be light." Not only did this neutralize the blazing baldachin, but the light continued to pierce through, eventually reaching the black dragon high in the skies. By the time the light pierced through the stratosphere, Whitefoot had finished her live report. Back at Rabbitfoot HQ, the White Lotus Tree, revered by all, had been destroyed by the tremendous powers of the Wings Incarnate, humanity's only ace in the hole. The Vengeance Incarnate had officially lost. After the fall of Ananta, the White Lotus Tree lost its magnificent luster and was reduced to a ruinous amalgamation of dead branches. Gillo was dissatisfied with how long the operation took to complete. Nevertheless, it was time for him, Beharin, and Ziz to return to their pantheon. His lapdog then opened the portal, and a spatial crack appeared out of thin air. Before they left, Nadia asked Gillo why Ananta saw him as a vile beast with delusions of godhood. She had no memories of meeting him before, but he felt infinitely familiar. Gillo smirked only now, realizing that the dragon he had defeated was that child from all those years ago. He answered that everything in this world is created through direct and indirect causes. When those two elements disperse, everything dissolves, such as inevitability. After his Riddler-esque answer, he bade farewell to the nature incarnate. Meanwhile, in a faraway land, a scar-riddled muscle, Mommy's bath time, was interrupted by her underling's urgent message. They had just received news of Lord Bernhard's return from the southern outpost. Muscle Mommy, she was thrilled her bath was interrupted by good news. If it had been bad news, Mira would have gotten a slap. The messenger then added that the Lord was arriving with an incarnate and 2 humans in tow. It would be in their best interest to reserve judgment until after they'd met their guests. Inside a fortress, strategically built and hidden deep within a mountain face, Lord Bernhard and the survivors of Carpes entered the gates. After that cursed battle, Lord Bernhard approached Nadia with an invitation to his organization's headquarters. Ostensibly, he wanted to work together against the Wings Incarnate, but he was more likely interested in Anuna's power. Furthermore, Whitefoot had disappeared. With nowhere else to go, Nadia accepted the invitation and found herself heading northeast. To meet a certain person, they entered the royal hall, lined with war-hardened soldiers. From left to right, there was a watchful beast woman, a nonchalant, hulking horn man, and entering from her chambers was the scar-riddled Muscle Mommy. She was the one Nadia needed to meet, the eldest child, and former princess of the ruined kingdom of Warriors Valkyrie, the head of the people, seeking vengeance against the Wings Incarnate. Sitting on the throne was Queen Lagartha Einerjar, head of Livitane. Firstly, she welcomed seasoned old Bernhard with a warm smile and insisted they omit tiresome formalities. She wanted his report about the expedition right away. Bernhard recounted, undergoing the trial of Carpes' arena. Despite some unforeseen circumstances, they managed to reach the temple and meet Gillo, the Wings Incarnate. Bernhard then detailed their battle and expressed his shame for losing so handily. Queen Lagartha was angered by his shame as a warrior for returning after being marred by defeat. Old Bernhard asserted that, no matter how many times he might lose, he swore to be the one to crush Gillo's throat with his own hands. Queen Lagartha was pleased with his determined reply, her laugh echoing throughout the throne room. She then questioned who this incarnate he'd brought with him was. Nadia was introduced as the Nature Incarnate, a member of a different faction gunning for Gillo's head. Old Bernhard added that she was a new ally, one who could lend her power to their cause. She'd already helped them immensely with her potent healing magic. After the mission, Nadia agreed to continue helping in exchange for treating and protecting a barbarian man and a seemingly plain young girl. The girl, the sole survivor of the human sacrifices, was relatively healthy and would soon be sent to the civilian quarters. As for the barbarian, he remained under close monitoring in the infirmary. He was badly injured and still unconscious. After receiving the rundown of the current situation, she rose from her throne and walked directly towards Nadia. She extended her hand, and Nadia formally greeted the formidable warrior queen. But as soon as their hands touched, the queen's grasp tightened instantly. As she interrogated Nadia about her true agenda, she threatened that if Nadia turned out to be a spy, a grim fate would absolutely await her here in Leviton. Nadia, completely composed, replied with a bold proposal to exchange information regarding the mysterious branch rumored to be inside her body. This instantly confirmed one of the warrior's gravest suspicions. The beast woman immediately raised her claws, warning the queen not to listen to another word coming out of Nadia's treacherous mouth. She'd been stinking up the royal hall with the winged stench from the moment she entered. After all, when confronted about whether she truly possessed the branch of the wings inside her body, Nadia truthfully answered, but she also swore that she knew nothing about what this mysterious relic inside her truly was. Queen Lager the reckoned that if the Wings Incarnate was searching for his branch, Nadia might offer Leviton a unique opportunity that might never come again. Before the meeting could proceed any further, a hurried messenger burst into the hall with frantic haste. She begged forgiveness for barging in so suddenly, but she was bringing urgent news. in the civilian quarters of the fortress. An out-of-control, draconic beast was causing mayhem and bloodshed. This rampage echoed the very first time. The power of pure evil itself consumed his body. Ananta had finally snapped, with power erupting from his very being. The evil entity completely overwhelmed him. It was the first time it had ever happened, and he was just a young boy back then, unable to reign in the overwhelming magic. Armless Ananta was utterly consumed by the darkness. His very perception of his body vanished bit by bit, his conscience slowly slipping away. But even in his terrifying dragon form, his gaze instinctively drifted toward the burning village. Slowly, he willed his monstrous body to crawl towards the blaze, driven by pure instinct alone. He sped up, each step causing a booming quake. Halfway there, his speed had reached an unimaginable level. As he arrived on the outskirts of the blazing village, he let out an instinctive wail of grief. Young Ananta frantically scanned his surroundings and spotted a burnt corpse where his home once stood. The horrific sight of that corpse and the sickening smell of burning flesh shocked the boy back to his senses. He tore himself free from the dragon's body and sprinted towards his burning hut. His arms had miraculously regenerated, albeit now tainted by the darkness of the black dragon. The face of Ananta's caring sister flashed vividly in his mind. Her soft gaze and youthful beauty had been reduced to unrecognizably charred remains. He remembered her last words to him were to come back safely. Somehow, he had managed to do just that. But at what devastating cost? Ananta gently took Ashta's charred corpse into his hands. Her usual warmth, now an unbearable heat. The young boy trembled, then screamed, his enraged heart out to the heavens, tears of blood pouring from his eyes. At that moment, the thought of ending Yo-Yo with his bare hands completely consumed his mind and heart. He had been tormented by that tragedy for years now. When Ananta finally awoke after the battle, he opened his eyes to an unfamiliar infirmary. On his bedside was an adorable little rat girl, watching him sleep. Her sight only plunged him deeper into confusion. Why is this tiny incarnate watching him sleep, even with his body riddled with injuries? He'd accumulated from the brutal battlefield. He still forced himself to his feet. His mind was still set on finding an end for Yo-Yo once and for all. Before he could even take a single step from the bed, blood erupted from every single one of his orifices. He gasped for air, desperately struggling to breathe. His vision blurred, then faded to black. Bile continuously gushed from his body. This was the brutal drawback of overusing curse power. Despite all that, Ananta still tried to rise and miserably failed. The little rat girl cheerfully bolted out of the room to find an adult. After gritting his teeth through the searing pain and regaining a sliver of strength in his legs, Ananta finally managed to drag himself out of the infirmary. The civilians in the fortress froze, solid in fear, as soon as they spotted the beaten and bloodied man stumbling through their streets. Ananta still couldn't figure out where he was. Looking up, he saw no open sky. He reckoned then that he might be in some kind of underground city. A patrolling guard soon approached, stopped him from spreading further unease among the citizens, judging by his strange appearance. It was evident he didn't belong in Lebanon. The guards urged him to cooperate with his arrest, or die should he resist. Ananta sighed and stood his ground, ready to throw hands, even at a literal 1 HP. The tension was broken by one man's sudden interruption, who was looking for his child. The guards referred to him as Lord Owl. Ananta then saw in this man's hand a familiar and burned-off symbol from when he was just a kid. Whitefoot had warned him about this coat of arms, an eye surrounded by 6 wings and 2 blades, the chilling symbol of Gillo's servants. He tried to grab onto this Susi Lord Owl fella, only to be nearly blinded by a lightning-fast sword draw. Lord Owl slashed out, but Ananta managed to clumsily dodge. With sheer raw instinct, Owl apologized for attacking so abruptly. It's just that his pet peeve is people touching him. From behind, Ananta quickly regained his footing and ferociously retaliated with a wild haymaker. That went wide, catching the bloodthirsty glint in Ananta's eyes. Lord Owl's demeanor immediately turned serious. Owl quickly retreated to the guard's position and grumbled that he shouldn't even be fighting, as he was supposed to be off duty today. He found it wildly fascinating that, even though this young man looked on the verge of collapsing from a single strike, he was still exuding such a terrifying, murderous aura. Ananta then confronted the man about the coat of arms he held and his connection to the wings incarnate. In response, Lord Owl suddenly rushed him, sword in hand, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. Ananta's senses were incredibly sharp. He managed to deftly step out of the way before the blade could skewer his head. But Owl was utterly relentless. He attacked with fierce intensity and a brutal intent to kill. Ananta endured several cuts along the way until his back was finally pushed against the wall. Lord Owl declared that if Ananta truly sought something, then he should take it by force. With a sweeping swing, Lord Owl unleashed his devastating raptor's claw technique. Owl was stunned that his blade failed to slice through flesh. As it turned out, Ananta had managed to summon his incarnate power, just in time, blocking the attack with his dragon arms. He glared at the swordsman with pure vitriol. The guards finally made themselves useful and sent someone to report back to the queen and request reinforcements. Reinvigorated, Ananta raised his claws and started going absolutely wild on the swordsman. Unfortunately for him, attacking fast and loose, like a barbarian, isn't going to work against Lord Owl. But the expert swordsman knew that getting hit by one of these attacks could result in his death. Even so, all he has to do is dodge until Ananta runs out of gas, and that shouldn't take too long. Now, as soon as the young man showed signs of staggering from his previous injuries, Lord Owl seized the chance, pouncing on Ananta's vulnerability. It was a swift, precise stab straight to the chest. A fatal blow for any normal human, no doubt. But for Ananta, a mortal wound is just an inconvenient hiccup. His flesh visibly stretched, healing instantly around the blade. Lord Owl felt as if he'd just stumbled into a monstrous trap as the young man's face ripped open, exposing rows upon rows of razor-sharp fangs. With a blood-curdling roar, Ananta's black dragon form erupted. With an agonizing wail, the very evil he fought consumed his body once more, pushing his endurance to its absolute breaking point. It was painfully obvious that this transformation wasn't as stable as his earlier ones. The civilians, who foolishly lingered in the vicinity to watch, were utterly paralyzed by terror. Imagine fighting a rampaging dragon on your day off. Lord Owl is definitely not having a good day. Nevertheless, he stood his ground, slowly drawing his blade once more. As the colossal monster came face to face with the swordsman, Lord Owl felt a sensation he hadn't felt in a very long time: pure fear. He froze in place, only to be bailed out by Queen Lagartha herself. The supreme warrior of Levitane came in, swinging, with her colossal greatsword. Her slash landed squarely on the black dragon's neck, opening a deep gash that bled profusely. The beast roared in agony, spiraling completely out of control, while the black dragon bled from its neck. The warriors of the fortress braced themselves as they surrounded the beast from all angles. Nadia and the others finally caught up. She insisted that Ananta was not an enemy, but the queen firmly believed that anyone who put her people in danger could not be left alive. So, this disgraceful beast deserved to have its life cut short right here and right now. The black dragon swiftly moved, raising its massive claws. Before anyone could even react, it swung its sharp weapons, surprising Queen Lagartha. But instead of attacking them, the beast dug deep into its own neck wound, tearing its own flesh apart. It ripped its own flesh wide open, exposing the raw gore and blood beneath. With an incredible, terrifying strength, the beast nearly tore itself in half, with pure, unadulterated force. The guards had never witnessed anything like it. Then, in a final rain of blood, The black dragon's massive body fell limp to the ground as the evil incarnate's power subsided. His body and energy scattered into the wind. Queen Lager cautiously approached, and there she saw an unconscious young man still inside the dragon's flesh. Her curiosity about Ananta instantly skyrocketed. Following the incident, Nadia and Ananta were imprisoned in Levitane's dungeon to prevent any more unexpected incidents. This nature incarnate is now guarded by Queen Lajertha's royal guards. The civilians are still traumatized and in an uproar. After the horrifying scene they just witnessed, they tried to warn witnesses to exercise caution, but rumors quickly spread like wildfire within their walls. At Levitane's round table, the queen called all her closest aides to convene for a commander's meeting. There's only one item on the agenda. They need to figure out what to do with a man named Ananta. Fourth Commander Lupa, the untamed incarnate, believes there's no debate necessary. They shouldn't even be debating keeping a dangerous monster in their fortress. They should just kill it while they have the chance. Third Commander Owl, the swordsmanship incarnate, found Ananta interesting after clashing with him and proposed they find a way to use his power. Second Commander Tarkhan, the breakthrough incarnate, abstained, claiming he had no interest in the matter. Queen Lager then turned to her first commander, Bowenhard, the courage incarnate, for his thoughts on this barbarian, given that he had seen him in action back in Karpa's fourth. Commander Lupa found it utterly ridiculous that they're even debating the answer. She thinks Bernhard totally screwed up by bringing in a monster without any warning. But old Bernhard only did it because he knew that even mentioning the idea would cause an uproar. He firmly believes Ananta is a force they'll absolutely need despite any dissent. He admits the young man's power is unstable and incredibly dangerous, but his hostility toward the wing incarnate is very real. If they can get that power under control, Ananta could become their most potent weapon against their common enemy. So first, Commander Bernhard formally proposed that they welcome Ananta as a part of Leviathan's military force, which Lupa strongly opposed. She turned to Owl, thinking the sword incarnate could have easily killed the beast if he fought seriously, but Owl surprisingly sided with Bernhard, seeing the immense value in allying with Ananta. He's certain that if the young man had been in better condition, one of them would have ended up permanently maimed. After hearing her commander's opinions, the Queen Lagertha called for the rabbit's foot messenger to step forward. It was, of course, the self-proclaimed cutie pie of Rabbit's Foot, the ever-reliable Whitefoot. While the round table meeting was underway, Ananta was chained up in an underground dungeon. A lady with a sultry voice appeared inside his cell, greeting him like an old friend. She was worried he'd be down like a dejected dog after losing against Yahello, but it seemed her worries were for nothing. Ananta stared at her like a wild animal. The tall, slender bunny girl warned him that if he continued to do so, she'd definitely get hot and bothered. Back in the round table, Whitefoot is exchanging pleasantries with Leviathan's big dogs, introducing herself as a humble info merchant. As always, Lupa immediately became hostile. Lord Owl's eyes darted to the little rat girl, Racklot, holding onto Ruby. The swordsman then turned on his dad mode and beckoned the young girl closer. Whitefoot reassured everyone, claiming she was just a messenger, capable of teleporting through space itself. But before Bernhard and the others could return from Karpa's, she arrived and put a proposal before the queen. Her opening gambit was a proposal about a power that could annihilate the winged incarnate. The queen first thought the rabbit had lost its mind, but now she truly grasped Whitefoot's meaning. After just a glimpse of Ananta in action, Queen Lagertha found herself very interested in the offer. Whitefoot lauded the queen's decisive nature, explaining all she wanted was a permanent, lasting, cooperative relationship between Rabbit's Foot and Leviathan. In exchange, she would grant them Rabbit's Foot's most potent weapon to defeat Gillo, the incarnate of revenge, who had just broken free from his chains. Whitefoot was in the middle of her ultimate sales pitch, but Ananta's voice abruptly cut her off, declaring her utterly worthless. The air around the round table immediately crackled with tension. Ananta firmly asserted he needed nobody's help. Ruby sprung free from the rat girl's grasp and scurried back to her boss's side. Ananta, still covered in grievous wounds and bruises, proudly proclaimed that he alone possessed the power to kill Gillo. Lupa quickly bared her sharp, furry claws, determined to drag the criminal back to the dungeon. As for the guards, meant to keep him securely locked up, their minds had been utterly scrambled. Lupa paused, awaiting the queen's kill order. Thankfully, Muscle Mommy was a clear-headed leader. She ordered her commander to stand down, wanting to hear what Ananta had to say. A single glance at the young man's scarred body was enough to reveal how many mortal battles he had endured. The queen could also sense the murderous hatred coursing through his veins. She had never witnessed anything remotely comparable. With an absolute monster sealed within his body, Ananta was essentially a demon in human form. Whitefoot attempted to salvage her sales pitch as she properly introduced the incarnate of revenge. Ananta squeezed her head. He clearly disliked being discussed. A calming offering meant to soothe his rage. The other bunny girl seductively latched onto Ananta's arm, sharply reminding him of his recent defeat against the formidable Wings incarnate. She stressed that he couldn't handle everything alone and would absolutely need all the help he could possibly get. As it turns out, this seductive bunny girl's name is Blackfoot, Whitefoot's considerably hornier sister. Although there's a slight hitch in their plans. It appears that mediation between both parties has concluded. Queen Lager bluntly questioned the young man, asking if he could slay Gillo with absolute certainty. Whitefoot attempted to speak for Ananta, but the queen swiftly silenced her. She frankly couldn't care less about his origins. She remained cautious about his volatile attitude and rampant lack of control, but she had also witnessed his immense strength firsthand. Every single soul in Leviathan yearns to see the Wings incarnate brought to justice. It's their shared, burning grudge that binds them all. Take, for example, Third Commander Owl, the very incarnation of swordsmanship. He's the man Ananta recently clashed with, and he once belonged to a tribe that devoutly worshipped the Wings incarnate. Ultimately, his entire tribe was brutally massacred, all because of a rebellious few. He then burned the coat of arms from his hand and swore an unyielding vow of revenge. The queen didn't hesitate to accept him as an ally, just like everyone else gathered in this room. The queen herself can clearly see Ananta harbors an unquenchable hatred for Gillo. The young man audaciously demanded the queen's name. She, however, put on no airs and simply introduced herself as Lagertha. In response to her query, Ananta explained he is cursed to feast upon evil deities. The more he devours these corrupted beasts, the more powerful he will grow. After his recent loss, he plans to hunt more evil deities to rapidly amplify his power. When the destined moment arrives, he vows to snap Gillo's neck with his bare hands, and all of Aiton's paltry insects have to do is support him. Hearing him brazenly insult the queen and their proud nation only fueled Commander Lupe's rage. But the queen? She just smiled, then burst into hysterical laughter, clearly amused by the young man's brazen audacity. Rising from her seat, she walked toward Ananta, pledging her honor as queen. From this moment forward, Leviathan will commit everything to assisting Ananta. To assist Ananta, revenge incarnate, she turned to her trusty warriors, Skald and Mare, ordering them to unchain Nadia and bring her to the round table. Meanwhile, in a realm far from the surface world, Baharan pushed open the doors to where Gillo's congregation had gathered, all within a grand arena. Zizi had just finished electrocuting a monster to death. In the stands were 4 more formidable beings, each exuding cataclysmic levels of power. As for the child born from an abomination, he looked like a psycho who reveled in the act of killing. Gillo made his grand entrance with his new drip, a style befitting a god, as he welcomed Baharan. They're celebrating the birth of the third seat. Now that Baharan is done with his assignment, Gillo orders him to open the gate. As he smashed his fists together, the very space behind him shattered. Gillo stepped inside the bleak pocket dimension, filled with countless abominations. Stretching as far as the eye could see, the snarls and growls intensified Abominations filled the desolate area. As Gillo watched from above, he looked at them with cold indifference. He reminded the monsters that they have been forsaken by the old gods. They have lost all dignity at the hands of evil deities and can never return to their original forms. He urged every single creature to know and to remember their shame. They are unappreciated and scorned, the victims of utter injustice. Showing off his powerful wings, he asked them if they would just give up and accept their end, if they won't fight back against their horrible destiny. Gillo jumped down to the den of monsters and introduced himself as the one who would bridge this rotten world with the world of the gods. Those who have any desire to profane and desecrate these cruel deities will have the chance to cast off the vile flesh of abomination. All they have to do is show that they are worthy of such a chance. Only the last one standing will receive the grace of the wings. As soon as the wings incarnate announced this, a battle royal among the abominations ensued. An abominable gorilla kicked off the bloodbath by crushing a dinosaur's skull. Alligators trashed monstrous hyenas and spilled blood. Watching the chaos and desperation to come out on top made Yu-Yo chuckle. He rejoiced as the abominations tear each other for a chance to regain their flesh. Back in Leviton, Nadia has been freed and invited to the round table. She saw Ananta and shot him a worried look of concern. Whitefoot greeted her with a smile and saw the strange bunny girl clinging to his arm. Queen Lagerth assured Nadia that she could relax, as everything's been taken care of. The last time she saw Ananta, he was an unstable mess teetering on losing control, but maybe she was worried over nothing. After talking with the Revenge Incarnate, the Queen has decided to accept both him and Nadia as official members of Leviathan. Of course, the fiery young man protested that. He never agreed to work for this underground organization. Boneheart stepped in and proposed a compromise, making a temporary alliance. No matter how they spin it, they need the Black Dragon's strength to successfully hunt the Wings Incarnate. Ananta would also benefit from the organization's assistance. As for Nadia, she needs Leviathan's existing information to find the answer she seeks. Boneheart warned her that what he was about to tell her may be very difficult to bear, but she had already made her resolve to know what she really is clear. With solid determination, she urged Bernhard to tell her about the branch that had been implanted into her body. Queen Lagerth called the branch the Mistelton. It's a relic also known as the branch of the World Tree. Back in Carps, they witnessed the abomination's transformation into an incarnate, all thanks to Yu-Yo's bizarre methods. That boy with those deranged eyes was born from the souls of countless human sacrifices. The branch is often called the blessing of the wings. It serves as a catalyst, able to turn abominations into incarnates. This means Nadia herself is an incarnate, reborn through Gillo's intervention, making her a creation of the Wings Incarnate. She possesses her human form thanks to the branch. She may have originally been just another abomination, but if that were true, Yu-Yo must possess power equal to that of the gods. So why would he choose to empower an abomination instead of an incarnate? The queen answered that if used on incarnates, the branch would turn them into evil deities. She knows this vital information because she witnessed it the day her homeland, Valkyrie, fell. As a little girl, she was forced to sail away and abandon her empire. Due to Gillo's actions, she saw those 6 cursed wings hovering atop the castle. On that nightmarish night, her home was utterly destroyed by the emergence of the most powerful abomination. Its dark horns destroyed the castle she grew up in. Valkyrie's guardian was turned into a monster before her very eyes. Ananta interjected, according to what the queen is saying, Nadia should be Gillo's servant, or even an evil deity by now. Yet here she is, just a meek dolt who couldn't even hurt a fly. Boneheart asserted that this is precisely why Nadia is a special case. She might be the closest thing Gillo has to the edge of the world. You see, there's a legend that has been passed down through Valkyrie's royal family. 4 generations. They say that a gap that forms, along with the birth of the World Tree, creates the so-called edge of the world. Gillo has been desperately making moves to find that dimensional gap to invade the world of the gods. That is why he keeps trying to create creatures that can successfully to serve as the sapling for a new world tree. But the branch? Mistletoe is far too potent for any average being to wield, let alone grow it. Just look at the winner of Gillo's Twisted Abomination Battle Royale. As soon as that monstrous tiger accepted the branch into its body, an untold surge of power immediately coursed through its entire being. The beings capable of controlling Mistletoe's energy with any semblance of stability are incredibly few and far between. In most cases, it results in a vessel's body exploding into a million shattered pieces. So, to uncover more about Gillo's sinister plans, Queen Lagertha and Livitane want to borrow Nadia and Anuna's power to slay Valkyrie's royal guardian, who has become a monstrous abomination. With the alliance now finalized, the Queen wasted no more time. She tasked 3rd Commander Owl and 4th Commander Lupa